In part 4 of the Chapter 33 Flipped Classroom, we're going to take a look at the legacies of imperialism, starting with those that are more benign slash can be looked at from a positive spin slash negative spin. So firstly, we have global interconnectedness. This sets the foundation for the interconnected economy that we see today. However, the negative side of this is that colonizers didn't really promote independent or equal economies. They didn't promote a free trade system. I'm going to say that one more time. They didn't promote a free trade system. They promoted dependence with laws and practices like like the law in India that Indians could not produce their own cloth. They could only produce cotton. Um, that resulted in unequal players throughout the world stage, economic stage. And there are a lot of echoes of this today. In other places, Europeans furthered education. This occurred in places like India and in French Indochina. However, in other areas, like the Congo, there was absolutely no emphasis placed on education. It just depended on what type of colony you were. Were you an indirect colony? Were you used for research source extraction exclusively, like the Congo? Or did you experience some direct slash settled colony? This often actually led to locals learning about nationalism, which led to rebellious movements. Unifying languages was also which also increased communication, was a positive thing. And also you see migrations. Migrants were mainly male, and they moved all over the place. Europeans, some 50 million between 1800 and 1914, usually went as free laborers to temperate climates, places like Kenya. And I think that quote that I mentioned earlier, the actual quote about the British moving all over these places, was by J.S. Mill, and he said, the British Empire is a gigantic system of outdoor relief for the British governing classes. Kind of funny. But oftentimes, migrants too from colonies would go to other places that were colonized by their same parent country. So, for example, if you're from India, you might go to South Africa. This is what Gandhi did. And he moved to Great Britain, was educated there, and then moved to South Africa to practice as a lawyer. Another type of migrant was indentured servants. Indentured servants from Asia, Africa, and the Pacific Islands, around 2.5 million between 1820 and 1914, mainly ended up in tropical or subtropical lands, producing cash crops like sugar. So you can see the migrations on this map here. Pay particular attention to Europe, China, and India. You can see where all these different people are going. What's fascinating is a lot of them are moving towards Hawaii, and I really saw that this summer when I was there. Just the giant mix of people. This map kind of gets, this graph slash chart kind of gets into how the population of Oceania was decimated during this time because of European diseases. Colonies' economies were often reoriented to fill the raw materials needs of imperialist nations, and I kind of referred to this on the last slide. So India is a good example because of the massive growth of cotton production, but not textile production. And Ceylon is also a good example because it basically became a giant tea colony. Racism, either scientific or just popular, played a big role in justifying imperialism for conquering nations. Count Joseph Arthur de Gobineau's essay on the inequality of human races, and your book does an excellent job of laying out this argument and the flaws in it in this chapter, so you should definitely pay attention to that part of the book and read it thoroughly. This placed Europeans at the top of the racial hierarchy. Social Darwinist thinkers such as Herbert Spencer justified the European dominance over the colonies as well. And people like um, excuse me, people like Cecil Rhodes said, "We are the finest race in the world, and the more of the world we inhabit, the better it is for the human race." Granted, that's a classic example of British arrogance, but you have to think about what quote unquote scientific theories were around at this time that would have led the English to believe it. A lot of these areas chafed under colonial control, and there were lots and lots of uprisings, such as the Maji Maji Rebellion in Tanganyika, and civil wars, such as that in India, where the Magyars tried to gain, or excuse me, um, the local rulers in India tried to gain control, the Sepoy Rebellion, and Filipino nationalism. Lots of other people, like Ram Mohan Roy, the father of modern India, were looking for improvements, better economic opportunities, equal rights, and self-government, rather than complete independence. So we definitely see some far-reaching consequences of imperialism. Thanks for listening.